Hey guys. Um so um so I'm going to come on here. I'm going to finish chapter 4 finally. I just haven't gotten around to it. I've been having a lot of things going on um related, actually a lot of like, so those of you, that were trying to call me um or get in contact with me, my phone was deactivated. But now, today, I got my dad and I sat down, but I had to call Total Wireless, or the phone plan that I was using, and they were able to help me automatically. So I'm good now. So those, that know me, you can, call me whenever. Obviously, if you want to talk or chat, my phone is now activated, so you can do that. Um, but um, and obviously, I'm gonna be clear. People that I know that know me a lot, or that know me at least from from friends to family, mainly friends and family, close friends and family. But um, we'll finish up chapter 4, but I also had thought of kind of a really cool idea. I had an idea of, and this didn't just come to me, but since Monkey Business, I started some artwork with our band. I'll kind of show you guys what I have. But it is kind of a rough sketch, but I think, hang on. I thought of a really in detail project, but this is what I have for. So if I go into my PDFs, this is what I had for the album art originally. I'll show you guys right now. You'll get a sneak peek, but this is what I kind of had. This is what I had. So really, this like red piece. So this is something I kind of came up with. It's supposed to be like the brown's supposed to be like the tree, and then obviously the green, and then it's basically a factory. Like you have like a banana, a banana peel that's like shooting bananas up the tree. But the bananas can like split ways of how they can exit the tree. But the idea just came like, I don't know. I don't know if I'll use this idea. I kind of want to come up with something better. But I have a green monkey on a vine with some sort of weird reggae hat, with those beanies, but like he's got like these like strings dangling off. I'll zoom it in, but it was just a unique thing I came up with. It's very scary looking, but yeah, there he is. But yeah, it's a monkey that's like gripping onto a vine. I don't know if I'll go with this or not. I just think it looks too cheesy. Another piece of artwork that actually is not for Monkey Business. This is something I came up with on my own, and um I love this piece because I actually did create this on my own. This was not from the internet, but this was a piece I created. So there's two pieces here I created. It's called Paradox the Planet. But here is a Yeti and a broken up, or basically it's a yak that is like its head is broken apart. But I wanted to make it look very silly, almost like cartoon like. And then like the freaking abominable snowman, he's got like the fang, the teeth, the gums, real. I will say this was a really good sketch I did. I'm proud of that one. And then this one I feel like I did. This is just colorful, but it has to do so. I love weird animals, and I had this idea of having some sort of alien with kind of resembling a squid, actually identical to a squid, but having it so like there's like one that is not corrupted on top of the squid that is corrupted, or it's trying to drag him in onto the planet, but he's fighting back. And then there's like this. So I use the sun for a planet, and then I centered that, or basically had that red outline, but this is just like loaded with color. But yeah, this is Paradox the Planet, excuse me. And then I wrote some lyrics to this. So this actually had lyrics, but it's crossing paths with being alienized, Trutons away from those far and wide. No one should deny while we watch the UFOs hovering the sky. Can't help but wish you were here. Were here. Back before all who lived in peace. Abduction surfing the streets within the skies. Sirens speak before your judgeful lies. Opportunity to change its Opportunity to change, it's a race against time. Escaping through National Gate 51. Intergalactic superglue held the terrestrial from sending hate from hell where the bad omens sleep. The world is yin and yang. The times paradox destroys corruption, outmatched but never outnumbered. I mean, that was something I literally wrote and came up with on the spot. This was not. But the original idea, as I said, was actually that monkey. So this sketch, this handwritten note, um, but I don't know if I'm gonna use that because I had another, like, a really cooler way of making the band art. Um, Obviously, a lot of people like what we obviously used in our last two singles we released, but really, so the song that was released yesterday, "Don't Honk," was not a Monkey Business song. That was actually, I would consider that a Blue Room Frankenstein song. I mean, I feel like even if a lot of us don't participate or just are in another group, not that we don't want to participate, um, it's still a Monkey Business song because we had all of the people in that song technically that did a lot of vocals. I did that guitar riff for that song. But it's very unique in the sense that like we had a bunch of really good things happen in that song. One of those things was I remember during production when we started the song, I wanted Liam to actually go. Actually, Liam was playing the drums on this, and he ended the song with this really cool, as you guys probably heard, this really awesome ZZ Top related riff that was just, it definitely was ZZ Top kind of vibe. But no, it was like, it was definitely blues, but it reminded me of like the Bayou or something. But Liam's a really good guitar player. He knows a lot of these like blues ZZ Top. I mean, I want to call them like ZZ Top rock blues riffs, but they're very unique, and they're definitely, it gave that song towards the end a lot of like soul. But we had Ellen, so there was a, so this was actually during the recording, but we didn't mean to record it. But Ellen had said, "Okay, that's enough. the song's over. But you guys probably caught that in the song. But um, it was a great song to make, because what I really like about music is a lot of music that happens for a reason. It's kind of like what we do in our lives that happen for a reason, or events, that take place that happen maybe for a reason or maybe for something else beyond us. Or, as I said, unfortunately, a lot of stupidity. Um, for me, like, this was a song that was born just by going out or coming back from an outing. And, and I'm like, and I had said to Liam, I said, instead of getting frustrated, or really, since it's the end of the day, the next time we come in on Friday, let's make this a song. Because this was something that, like, I don't think, I mean, we all kind of had something to say about it, but I think I had way, because the lyrics is Tom is rage. I wasn't raging, but because when you rage, like, I mean, it means like you're very angry. You're very, like, I was more frustrated that the vehicle behind us was super impatient, even when it just turned a green light. Like, the person was just very impatient, very pushy, that Liam went through that green light. So a lot of us were, or most of us in that van that day, were just kind of like, dude, lay off your horn. Like, don't press your horn. But it's a great song. We got Tyler's vocals on there. Of course, Paul's on there. Our, I would say, star of the show, actually, our female singer in this song, Elizabeth, she did awesome. Um, and then obviously for me, I did the oh, what was it? That's right. And the funny thing about this song is, those of you that are hearing the down, down, and down, 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 and down, down. So that was me doing that riff. But I'm gonna tell you guys something. This is more of a trivia question, and I think a lot of you will get it right. But that riff is actually part of the song, but I played it on a higher fret, and I was using power chords. But what is that riff? That the riff, I mean, it is, the thing is, the song I'm thinking of is also they play that same riff with a power chord. But does anybody know what that riff is from? It's a song, it's a rock song, but as I said, I played it higher on the neck. And I'm pretty sure I used a capo. Where originally this song I'm thinking of did not have a capo on it. But same exact down, 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 down. But does anybody know that riff? I will give you a hint. It's from a well-known rock band, and I think everybody that likes hair rock, the days of Def Leppard, Black Sabbath, would know who this band is, because um, I mean, this band that I'm thinking of that wrote this song. So I will give you a hint. Actually, the hint might give it away, but this was a song they did in their early stages. So when Malcolm was the lead singer, this is a song they released with Malcolm being the front man of this band. And that actually probably did give it away because I used the word. But this, so I can't really take it back. But there was 3 singers for this band. But can anybody name the band? Which I know I knew I threw a big hint out, so people are gonna get it. It's not a band anybody. I would say if you don't know who this band is, I mean, I think everybody knows who this band is. I mean, obviously, this is a band that has played through history, and we're, as I said, we're a band, right? Or I would say a long term band. Um, but I'm not going to give any more things away because I used the original front man's name, so I think people are obviously going to get it. Um, but I'm gonna say we were not playing It's a Long Way to the Top. I will correct that. This was our own song we wrote. I would say it was more in the style of what we were trying to go for was that band sound or style, or not sound but style. But and that was why I had said to Liam, because he kind of asked me and asked everybody else who would want to drum, and I said, and Liam, I think Liam was a really good choice for this song because the thing is, what I notice about Liam behind the kit is that he uses everything. And the thing is, when you're behind the drums, it's not so much what you want to play. It's more of skill, meaning that when you play drums, it's a routine. It's kind of like getting up in the morning, doing what you have to do, but you're following a routine, meaning that one of my goal, or at least what something I do when I jam with people, is I make sure I use all the kit. I use all the drums onto that kit, the bass drum, the toms, the crash cymbal, the ride cymbal, the hi-hat, open and closed, the snare drum. And there's times where, I mean, a lot of the parts of the drum, deeper tone, like doing a rim shot, hitting the snare drum in the center or the outer circle. It's all based off of tone as well. And that's why people tune drum kits, is to make sure the sound is crisp. I mean, I tune my snare drum pretty much not every day. I haven't used it, but I need what I do need is a new snare drum cover, which I'm gonna put on this snare drum at some point. Actually, I might do it once but they're pretty easy. The covers are easy to put on. Um, but obviously it's important to know which, because they come in sizes, but really all you would have to do is measure the width of the snare drum, so kind of like measuring it, I mean, what you're looking for. But anyways, let's get on with the book. And so yeah, we left right after, so yep. So let's start. So we're on page 55. That's where we stopped the other day. While it is important for us to understand the origins of fragile self esteem, it is also possible to bypass this stage, identifying when where we received negative socialization, and still create a foundation for building self love. Individuals who bypass this stage tend to move on to the next stage, which is actively introducing into our lives constructive, life affirming thought patterns and behavior. Whether a person remembers the details of being abused is not important. When the consequence of that abuse is a feeling of worthlessness, they can still engage in a process of self recovery by finding ways to affirm self worth. The wounded heart learns self love by first overcoming low self esteem. Nathaniel Brandon's lengthy work, Six Pillars of Self Esteem, highlights important dimensions of self esteem: the practice of living consciously, self acceptance and self responsibility, self assertiveness, living purposefully, and the practice of personal integrity. Living consciously means we think critically about ourselves and the world we live in. We dare to ask ourselves the basic questions: who, what, when, where, and why. Answering these questions usually provides us with a level of awareness that enlightens. Brandon contends to live consciously means to seek to be aware of everything that bears on our actions, purposes, values, and goals to the best of our ability, whatever that ability may be, and to be be have in coordinate or have an accordance with that which we see and know. To live consciously, we have to engage in critical reflection about the world we live in and know most intimately. Usually, it is through reflection that individuals who have not accepted themselves make the choice to stop listening to negative voices within outside the self that constantly reject and devalue them. Affirmations work for anyone striving for self acceptance. Although I had for years been interested in therapeutic modes of healing and self help, affirmations always seemed to be a bit corny. My sister, who was then working as a therapist in the field of chemical dependency, encouraged me to give affirm affirmations a try to see if I would experience any concrete changes in my outlook. I wrote affirmations relevant to my daily life and began to repeat them in the morning. As part of my daily meditations, at the top of my list was declaration. I'm breaking with old patterns and moving forward with my life. I not only found them to be a tremendous energy boost, but a way to kick off the day by my exaggerating or accentuating the positive. I also found it useful to repeat them during the day if I felt particularly stressed or was falling into the abyss of negative thinking. Affirmations help restore my emotional equ- uh, equilibrium, equilibrium. Self acceptance is hard for many of us. There is a voice inside that is constantly judging, first ourselves and then others. That voice enjoys the indulgence of an endless negative critic. Because we have learned to believe negativity is more realistic, it appears more real than any positive voice. Once we begin to replace negative thinking with positive thinking, it becomes utterly clear that far from being realistic, negative thinking is absolutely disenabling. When we are positive, we not only accept and affirm ourselves, we are able to affirm and accept others. The more we accept ourselves, the better prepared we are to take responsibility in all areas of our lives. Commenting on this third pillar of self esteem, Brandon defines self responsibility as the willingness to take responsibility for my actions and the attainment of my goals. For my life and well being, taking responsibility does not mean that we deny the reality of institutionalized injustice. For example, racism, sexism, and homophobia all create barriers and concrete incidents of discrimination. Simply taking responsibility does not mean that we can prevent discriminatory acts from happening, but we can choose how we respond to acts of injustice. Taking responsibility means that in the face of barriers, we still have the capacity to invent our lives, to shape our destinies in ways that maximize our well being. Every day we practice the shape shifting to cope with realities we can't easily change. Many women are married to men who were unsupportive when they decided to further their educations. Most of these women did not leave the men in their lives. They engaged in constructive strategies of resistance. One woman I spoke with was inhibited because her husband worked in a plant and she felt uncomfortable having more education than he did. Yet she wanted to re-enter the workforce and needed an advanced degree to do so. She made the choice to take responsibility for her needs and desires, believing it would also enhance the well-being of her family. Returning to work boosted her self esteem and changed the passive aggressive rage and depression that had developed as a consequence of her insulation and stagnation. Making this decision and finding ways to realize it was not an easy process. However, her husband and children were often disgruntled when her independence forced them to accept more household responsibility. In the long run, everyone benefited, and it goes without saying that these changes boosted her self-esteem in ways that showed her how self-love made it possible to extend herself in a constructive way to others. She was happier, and so were those around her. In order to makes these changes, she had to make use of another vital aspect of self-esteem, self-assertiveness, defined by Brandon as the willingness to stand up for myself, to be who I am openly, to treat myself with respect in all human encounters. Since many of us were shamed in childhood, either in our families of origin or in school settings, a learned pattern of going along with the program and not making a fuss is the course of action we most frequently choose as a way to avoid conflict. As children, conflict was often the setting for put downs and humiliation. The place where we were shamed, our attempts at self assertion failed as an etiquette defense or adequate defense, or I think that's adequate. Yeah, adequate. That's what it is. Adequate defense. Many of us learn that pass, passive, pass, passive, passivity lessened the possibility of attack. Sexist socialization teaches females that self-assertiveness is a threat to femininity. Accepting this faulty logic lays the groundwork for low self esteem. The fear of being self assertive usually surfaces in women who have been trained to be good girls or dutiful daughters. In our childhood home, my brother was never punished for talking back. Asserting his opinions was a positive sign of manhood. When my sisters and I voiced our opinions, we were told by our parenting adults that this was negative and un under what is it? So it's un unsertable behavior. We were told, especially by our dad, that female self assertion was not feminine. We did not listen to these warnings, even though ours was a partial household. The fact that females far outnumbered the two males, my dad and my brother, made it safe for us to speak our minds, to talk back. Luckily, by the time we were young adults, the feminist movement had come along and validated that having a voice and being self assertive was necessary for building self esteem. One reason women have traditionally gossiped more than men is because gossip has been a social interaction wherein women have felt comfortable stating what they really think and feel. Often, rather than asserting what they think at the appropriate moment, women say they think will please the listener. Later, they gossip, stating at the moment their true thoughts. This division between a false self invented to please others and a more authentic self need not exist when we cultivate positive self esteem. The feminist movement really helped women understand the personal power that is gained through positive self assertiveness. Gloria Steinem's bestseller Revolution from Within cautioned women about the danger of achieving success without doing the necessary groundwork for self-love and self-esteem. She found that achieving women who still suffered internalized self-hatred, invariability, acted out in ways that undermined their success. And if the self hating successful person did not act out, she may have lived a life of private desperation, unable to tell anyone anyone's does not in fact reverse crippled self esteem. To complicate matters, women may feel the need to pretend that they are self loving to insert confidence and power to the outside world, and as a consequence, they feel psychologically conflicted and disengaged from their true being. Shamed by feeling that way, they can never let anyone know who they really are. They may choose isolation and aloneness for fear of being unmasked. But it doesn't just go for females, and I did just state that. So it also goes for men as well. It says this is true of men as well. When powerful men reach the height of personal achievement in their careers, they often undermine all they have worked for by engaging in self-destructive behavior. Men who reside at the bottom of our nation's economic totem pole do this, and so do men at the top. President Clinton engaged in deceitful behavior, betraying both his personal commitments to his family as well as his political commitment to be a paragon of American values to the people of this country. He did so when his popularity was at an all time high. Having spent much of his life achieving against the odds, his actions expose a fundamental flaw in his self esteem. Although he is a white male, Ivy League educated and economically well off, privileged with all the accompanying perks, His irresponsible actions were a way of unmasking, of showing to the world that he really was not the good guy he was pretending to be. He created the context for a public shaming that no doubt mirrors movements of childhood shaming when some authority figure in his life made him feel he was worthless and that he would never be worthy no matter what he did. Anyone who suffers from low self esteem can learn by his example. If we succeed without confronting and changing shaky foundations of low self esteem rooted in contempt and hatred, we will falter along the way. It is no accident that living purposely is the sixth element of self esteem. According to Brandon, it entails taking responsibility from consciously creating goals, identifying the actions necessary to achieve them, making sure our behavior is in alignment with our goals, and paying attention to the outcome of our actions so that we see whether they are leading us where we want to go. Most people are concerned about living purposefully. When it comes to choosing the work we do, unfortunately, many workers feel they have very little freedom of choice when it comes to work. Most people do not grow up learning that the work we choose to do will have a major impact on our capacity to be self loving. Work occupies much of our time. Doing work we hate assaults our self esteem and self confidence, yet, most workers cannot do the work they love. But we can all enhance our capacity to live purposely by learning how to experience satisfaction in whatever work we do. We find that satisfaction by giving any job total commitment. When I had a teaching job, I hated the kind of job where you long to be sick so you have an excuse for not going to work. The only way I could ease the severity of my pain was to give my absolute best. This strategy enabled me to live purposely. Doing a job well, even if we do not enjoy what we are doing, means that we leave it with a feeling of well-being. Our self-esteem intact. That self-esteem aids us when we go in search of a job that can be more fulfilling. Throughout my life, I have endeavored to not only do work I enjoy, but to work with individuals I respect, like or love. When I first declared my desire to work in a loving environment, friends acted as though I had truly lost my mind to them. Love and work did not go together, but I was convinced that I would work better in a work environment shaped by an ethic of love. Today, as the Buddhist concept of right livelihood is more widely understood. More people embrace the belief that work that enhances our spiritual well-being strengthens our capacity to love. And when we work with love, we create a loving working environment. Whenever I enter an office, I can immediately sense by the overall atmosphere and mood whether workers like what they do. Marcia Sintar writes about this concept in her book, Do What You Love, the Money Will Follow, as a way to encourage readers to take the risk of choosing work they care about and therefore learning through experience the meaning of right livelihood. While there are many meaningful insights in Sinatar's book, it is equally true that we can do what we love and money will not always follow. Although this is utterly disappointing, it can also offer us the experimental awareness that doing what you love may be more important than making money. Sometimes, as has been in the case in my life, I've had to work at a job that is less than enjoyable in order to have the means to do the work I love. At one point in a very mixed job career, I worked as a cook in a club. I hated the noise and the smoke, but working nights let me free to write in the day, to do the work I truly wanted to do. Each experience enhanced the value of the other. My nighttime work helped me relish the quiet serenity of my day and enjoy the alone time so essential to writing. Whenever possible, it is best to seek work we love and to avoid work we hate, but sometimes we learn what we need to avoid by doing it. Individuals who are able to be economically self sufficient doing what they love are blessed. Their experience serves as a beacon to all of us, showing us the ways right livelihood can strengthen self love, ensuring peace and contentment in the lives we lead beyond work. Often workers believe that if their home life is good, it does not matter if they feel dehumanized and exploited on the job. Many jobs undermine self love because they require that workers constantly prove their worth. Individuals who are dissatisfied and miserable on the job bring this negative energy home. Clearly, much of the violence in domestic life, both physical and verbal abuse, is linked to job misery. We can encourage friends and loved ones to move toward greater self love by supporting them in any effort to leave work that assaults their well being. Folks who are out of the paid workforce, women and men who do unpaid work in the home, as well as all other happily unemployed people, are often doing what they want to do. While they are not rewarded by an income, their day to day life often provides more satisfaction than it would if they worked at a high paying job in a stressful and, and dehumanizing environment. Satisfied homemakers, both women and the rare men who have chosen to stay home, have a lot to teach us all about the joy that comes from self determination. They are their own bosses, setting the terms of their labor and the measure of their reward. More than any of us, they have the freedom to develop right livelihood. Most of us did not learn when we were young that our capacity to be self loving would be shaped by the work we do and whether that work enhances our well being. No wonder then that we have become a nation where so many workers feel bad. Jobs depress the spirit rather than enhancing self esteem. Work is perceived as a negative necessity. Bringing love into the work environment can create the necessary transformation that can make any job we do, no matter how menial, a place where workers can express the best of themselves. When we work with love, we renew the spirit. That renewal is an act of self love. It nurtures our growth. It's not what you do, but how you do it. In the Knitting Sutra, Susan Lydon describes the labor of knitting as a freely chosen craft that enhances her awareness of the value of right livelihood. Sharing what I found in this tiny domestic world of knitting is endless. It runs broader and deeper than anyone might imagine. It is infinity and seemingly it is can say infinite, there we go, and seemingly inexhaustible in its capacity to inspire, excite, and provoke creative insight. London sees the world that we have traditionally thought of as woman's work as a place to discover godliness through the act of creating domestic bliss. A blissful household is one where love can flourish. Creating domestic bliss is especially useful for individuals living alone who are just learning to be self loving. When we intentionally strive to make our home places where we are ready to give and receive love, every object we place there enhances our well being. I create themes for my different homes. My flat in the city has the theme love's meeting place. As a small town person moving to a big city, I found that I needed my environment to truly feel like a sanctuary. Since my one bedroom flat is so much smaller than the places I had been accustomed to living in, I decided to take only objects I truly loved, the things I felt I could not do without. It is amazing how much stuff you can just let go of. My country place has a desert theme, I call it. Soledad Hermosa. Beautiful solitude. I go there to be quiet and still and to experience the divine, to be renewed. All of the chapters for this book, this one was the most difficult to write. When I talked with friends and acquaintances about self love, I was surprised to see how many of us feel troubled by the notion, as though the very idea implies too much narcissism or selfishness. We all need to rid ourselves of misguided notions about self love. We need to stop fearfully equating it with centeredness and selfishness. Self love is the foundation of our loving practice. Without it, our other efforts to love fail. Giving ourselves love, we provide our inner being with the opportunity to have the unconditional love we may have always longed to receive from someone else. Whenever we interact with others, the love we give and receive is always necessarily conditional. Although it is not impossible, it is very difficult and rare for us to be able to extend unconditional love to others. Largely because we cannot exercise control over the behavior of someone else, and we cannot predict or utterly control our responses to their actions. We can, however, exercise control over our own actions. We can give ourselves the unconditional love that is the grounding for sustained acceptance and affirmation. When we give this precious gift to ourselves, we're able to reach out to others from a place of fulfillment and not from a place of lack. One of the best guides to how to be self-loving is to give ourselves the love we are often dreaming about, receiving from others. There was a time when I felt lousy about my over 40 body, saw myself as too fat, too this or too that. Yet I fantasized about finding a lover who would give me the gift of being loved as I am. And it is silly, isn't it, that I would dream of someone else offering to me the acceptance and affirmation I was withholding from myself. This was a moment when the maximum you can never love anybody if you are unable to love yourself made clear sense. And I add, do not accept to receive the love from someone else you do not give yourself. In an ideal world, we would all learn in childhood to love ourselves. We would grow being secure in our worth and value, spreading love wherever we went, letting our light shine. If we did not learn self-love in our youth, there is still hope. The light of love is always in us, no matter how cold the flame it is, or no matter how cold the flame, it is always present, waiting for the spark to ignite, waiting for the heart to awaken and call us back to the first memory of being the life force inside a dark place, waiting to be born, waiting to see the light. That's strong. But I want to read that sentence again because that is very deep. I would say it's deep, but anybody out there that doesn't feel like they are physically, mentally being loved, this is a great quote, but it's the light of love is always in us. No matter how cold the flame is, it is always there. It's always present, waiting for the spark, the patience to spark to ignite, waiting for the heart to awaken and call us back to the first memory of being the life force, of being the life force inside a dark place, something like a closet, or at night, a dark alley, waiting to be born and waiting to see the light. I mean, that is a beautiful piece right there. I mean, how strong that is. But what is it? And call us back to the first memory of being the life force inside a dark place, waiting to be born, waiting to see the light. I want to add that to a lyric in the Wednesday band. But I mean, that is strong. Holy I mean, literally. I mean, I don't think you can get strong. I mean, obviously it's a drink, but I don't think you can get an alcoholic drink that strong than what we just read. There is people that do. So I will say that addiction is very hard for a lot of people. In addiction, a lot of people, when they think of addiction, they think of alcohol, drugs, but a lot of that, as I've not experienced, but however, have never done, would I do it? No, because I never did it when I was a child. But it's really important. But I might even say this to my parents when they're ever feeling like they're not feeling loved or supported. I'm going to state that to them. But it's super strong. I mean, that one chunk of a sentence, just for me, is more. Because the thing is, we could be in a dark place or dark space, but we all know we're going to see the light. Even if we have to work our way up to see the light, or just be patient. Patience in journeying through those dark spaces. Because I'm going to tell anybody that is struggling with addiction, with the lack of self love, self acceptance, thinking your worth is not valued on a daily basis. That is a, as I said, people state their life is dark, it's full of hatred, but that's what darkness is. Darkness, what I mean, really, for me, darkness is defined as a setting. More, it is in form of getting out of the place, but like places can be settings too. Like, where, the thing is, like, we think of like movies, right? Where they're filmed, where where the movie is taking place, meaning where are they filming that movie? But thinking of this as definitely more reality, the darkness in everybody's life is the setting. It can I mean, a setting results into the environment, possibly the event, or whatever is going on. Or, as I said, it could be a certain space, but a dark alley in a city, in a big city, your